have my business partner David with us today also.
Hello.
Hello. This is a special thanks to Recruiters Connection. And for those of you that are coming through the CURTA social media, thanks to Cecily, we would like to introduce you to Recruiters Connection. Recruiters Connection is a national directory, and they have an amazing job board. If you're in an agency and you're trying to get your name out there, you should A, register with them, and then B, they have a job board that attracts the passive candidates that a lot of us are having trouble getting a hold of. For us, here at CURTA, we recruit recruiters, and we have a standing job order with a job posting with them for recruiters, and the talent we get from them is second to none. So it is worth its weight in gold. It is worth looking into. And the other thing that you'll find is that they do a lot of trainings for you free, which is what we're all looking for. Okay? So for those of you who don't know who we are, okay, CURTA is, we cater to the recruitment professional, both on the third-party agency and on the corporate side. We specialize in training, placing, and coaching recruiters. If you have a question about your career and you don't know who to call, the old Ghostbusters, we're the people you call. All right? That's why we opened our company, and we like to go out and do these webinars to get you the information you need. I'm not here to sell. I just want to let you guys know that's what we do. Okay? A little bit about what we're presenting today. We're presenting body language of recruiting. It's a combination of what your candidates are doing and what you're doing and how to interpret it. Okay? It's a big topic for all of us. My name is Rebecca Sargent. I have been recruiting for 20 years now. I'm the CEO of CURTA for the last 5 years, but moreover than anything else, I wanted to talk to you about my background in body language. I started as a kid watching people for a living. I worked in animal hospitals and worked in horse farms and really got to learn how to watch the riders deal with the horses and how the horses were dealing with riders. Today, to keep up my skill set on body language and to make sure that our training is always ahead of the curve, I own and rehab cattle dogs. And this is Barney here on the left and Kylie on the right. For those of you that don't know what a cattle dog is, they are rated in the top 3% of intelligent dogs. It's equivalent to having 2 5-year-olds running around my house that aren't able to talk. They are that manipulative on a good day. They are part dingo and part sheepdog. They are designed to move cattle across Australia. I live in North America. A good cattle dog in Australia is worth $60,000. They replace, on average, 5 farm hands. Okay? They never call in sick. They never complain about their pay, and they're always willing to do their job and chasing 2,000-pound animals around a field. Now, if I could figure out how to get them to recruit, I might actually have something here. I go to Tea Creek Training Center, and I work with a woman by the name of Kathy Warner, and she is the leading expert here in Canada for herding. 90% of what she teaches is the dog already knows his job. It's your job to figure out how to read the stock and deal with the animals. We typically herd, this is kind of an interesting thing, we herd everything from ducks to sheep to cattle. Okay? There are some breeds out there that actually herd fish, and then my cattle dogs will work with horses and they'll work with children. The children is the good part. So, what we're going to cover today, all right? Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand or type in your questions. We're going to cover the fundamentals of body language. We're going to cover the 3 keys to understanding body language, and then we're going to talk to you about how to use that body language to be a more effective recruitment professional. The fundamentals of recruiting body language are not, hey, how to read that person's face, how to understand if somebody scratches their nose, if they're lying or not, like anything like that. There's a fundamental piece to body language that we all need to understand. And the first thing is situations, okay? You need to understand the situation before you can interpret what's going on. So I'm going to unmute everybody here because I'm going to ask a question to the group. Has everybody seen this picture of this dog out on Facebook?
No.
No? Has anybody seen this picture? What does the group think this dog is doing? Bev? What do you think this dog is doing? Kelly? Anybody?
Yes?
Ron, what do you think the dog is doing?
Sneezing.
What's that?
Looks like he's about to
Sneezing.
Sneezing? Okay. Anybody else? If you type into Google, smiling dog, this is the picture you get. Okay? When a dog, in a situation like this, if we were to expand this photo out, you would see that this dog is in a shaming photo. This dog has done something wrong. Okay? This dog is not smiling. It might look like to you, to the human eye, that it's smiling. It's not. It is actually doing everything it can not to bite the person taking the photo. It is no different than this woman doing the same thing. This is this is a political candidate in France, and she's being attacked by reporters because she has lost the race. See, she's showing her teeth, her nose is scrunched, her eyes are closed. She is trying her best to deflect everybody around her. This is not, when we look at pictures, we need to understand if you're not seeing everything going around the picture, you're not seeing what's really going on. So you can't interpret body language until you understand the whole picture. As recruiters, when we get into a room with a candidate, we start to interpret, and we need to be careful of that. How many of us have felt like a candidate's blindsided us with the information they've given us? Okay, I can guarantee everybody in here, we've all had it. We've all had, the candidate didn't tell me that, the candidate lied to me. We've had it, okay? The correct answer that we should be asking ourselves is, as a recruiter, did I filter something out? Okay? So I'm going to put on a video for you here, and I need you to listen to what is being said, all right?
Come in closer. Closer. Because the more you think you see, the easier it'll be to fool you. Because what is seeing? You're looking, but what you're really doing is filtering, interpreting, searching for meaning. My job is to take that most precious of gifts you give me, your attention, and use it against you. I'm going to flip through this deck, and I want you to see one card, not this one. That's too obvious. Pay close attention. That was too fast. I'll do it again. Are you ready? Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you see one? Yeah. You have one in mind? And do you see your card here? No. That's because you're looking too closely. And what have I been telling you all night? The closer you look, the less you see. Because what is seeing? You're looking, but what you're really doing is filtering, interpreting, searching for meaning. My job? To take that most precious of gifts you give me, your attention, and use it against you.
Did everybody hear that? Did everybody hear what he said? Okay. The key to that is you needed to be listening to what he was saying. As recruiters, the 3 points he made in that video are very important to all of us. The more you think you see, the easier it is for your candidate and your clients to fool you. Okay? I'm just going to unmute. Seeing, and it's key here. It's absolutely key. What you're doing is when you're seeing, what you're doing is you're looking. But what you are really doing is filtering. Every candidate that has ticked you off, you're using to measure against this candidate. You're interpreting. You're using your dictionary of words to figure out what that person is saying. You're searching for meaning, okay? The last line, we should be all using to our advantage and not letting our clients or our candidates use it to theirs, is my job is to use your attention against you, okay? Any questions here so far?
No.
Okay. Good. I have a person that, there we go. All right, body language 101 for us. Stop seeing. Start looking for the lie, all right? Filtering, interpreting, searching for meaning is not our job. Our job is just to look for the facts. And don't be led around by your attention. We're the professional. We're in control. Okay? The keys to body language. Everybody lies. You must live and die by these rules. Everybody lies. 2, it takes 2 to lie. It takes the person telling the lie, and it takes the person believing the lie to facilitate a lie. Okay? And last, it's not personal. It's not about you. It's not about anything else. It's about the person on the other side of the table. There's something going wrong. They're embarrassed. Something is there. A lie is not about you. Okay? And we're going to get into more of this as we go through. I talk about everybody lies, and it's always one of those, how can you say that? But it really gets down to when you're thinking about body language, you need to understand as human beings, we develop speech because we have an ego, and a language is an extremely effective way of distracting you from what I'm really saying. Okay? And it really is when it comes right down to it, I can sneer right in your face and tell you I love you. And you will believe the words rather than believe my face. As recruiters, we see this all the time. We see candidates that walk in and you ask them and you say, so are you out interviewing? And they will say to you, no, I'm not out interviewing. Meanwhile, they're nodding their head the entire time. How many of you have seen that before?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kelly, I have.
Always. You know, are you working with other recruiters? No, I'm not working with other recruiters, and they're nodding their heads. Right? You're just amazed. The best way to figure out if somebody is telling you the truth is just to shut the audio out, so that you're not trapped by the lie. A really good example is, you know, we see this every day. Recruiters, we're people watchers. We've all been in the traffic, and we've looked over at the car next to us, and the husband's got his knuckles bared down on the steering wheel, and the wife is looking out the window. We can't hear what they're saying in the car, but we know there's a fight going on. And then when you pull off to the rest area, they walk past you and they're talking about what they're going to eat together. Meanwhile, their entire body language is, nope, not going to, I don't even want to talk to you. Okay? We basically have a language so we're not out there slugging each other on a good day. Anybody who watches House, this is the gentleman who actually is the doctor that House is modeled after. And he talks about, it's a basic truth of human conditions that everybody lies. The only variable is about what? The weird thing about telling somebody they're dying is it tends to focus their priorities, and you find out what really matters, what they're really willing to die for and what they're really willing to lie for. It's amazing what people will lie for, okay? If you know the facts about what people will lie for, you're better armed. Let's talk about some of those facts. Okay? Top 10 reasons why people lie. Or, they lie about books they've read. These are the top 10 books that people lie about reading. Most of them haven't read them. The average person lies to a stranger 3 times in a 10-minute conversation. Why do we interview our candidates? We can get to know them.
The other phone isn't working, right?
Okay. Those of you talking over us, I'm going to mute you so that we're not interrupting everybody else. If you have questions, just put them up on the board there. That'd be great. The other thing is, if we didn't lie, we wouldn't be able to function as a society. Okay? What are some of the things you guys think candidates lie about?
Where they worked.
Where they worked. Gotta love that one. Yep.
How long they've worked, what they did, their pay, everything.
Yeah, they do. They lie about everything. Statistically, here's some statistics. 78% of resumes are misleading. We know all of these facts, right? We live and die by these facts. But what we don't live and die by, and what we never look at, and they're more important facts to us than anything else, is why are you looking for a new job? And when you start to drill down on that, you really understand that there is really only 5 reasons a person's going to be looking for a new job, okay? Importance of work, 48.8% of people say they want to do something that makes them feel more accomplished. That's why they're going to change jobs. 21% want a bump in salary. 18% want a chance to advance. And here's the really two facts that you really need to know. I bet none of us have even thought about this. I didn't think about this until I pulled these stats. 7.5% of people are in the front of us because they're afraid of being fired.
Oh, wow.
Doesn't that change the whole dynamic when you're talking to a candidate now? When they start to go, hey, I just don't feel accomplished. And they're lying to you. You can see the lie. And you're following them around going, why does this not feel right? Why does that not feel right? Because we never even think, are you afraid of being fired? The other thing is they want a shorter work week, shorter work hours. Sick and tired of working the hours they're working. These are the facts that you need to be armed with, okay? And if you understand these facts, then you'll get to this, you'll be able to distill out the lies and drill down to these facts. Any questions?
For me, I'm good.
Pardon me?
This is Kelly. I'm good.
Okay.
I don't have any questions.
It takes 2 to lie. We all go, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. But it does. It takes the person telling us the lie and the person accepting the lie. So how do we stop that? We need to find the truth. So the first thing we need to do is stop reacting. Okay? Stop reacting to what candidates are doing to us, and we need to start controlling our body language. We need to look for the facts, and we need to listen to understand. So we're going to start drilling down into all of these, okay? What it really comes down to is if you're looking for candidate control and you feel like you don't have candidate control, you're not doing these 3 steps. You're not giving your candidates enough rope to hang themselves. So let's start with reacting. How many of you are, it's kind of an interesting thing here. I'm going to just move this slide over. How many of you find that when you have a candidate that you really, really, really like, that you are all over that candidate? I know I find this all the time. My partner and I have been out into a business meeting, and I am literally leaning across the table. I am this girl leaning across the table at the candidate. You're like, I got to get you to get this job, you know? Your candidate is starting to feel like that guy in the chair. He's starting to pull back. He's starting to go, oh, this is not good. So it's really important for all of us to know what we're doing in an interview. If we're leaning forward, we're pushing on the candidate, okay? The next thing is, how many times have you been this guy when they're answering a question? How many times when you ask a candidate a question, do you start to nod? Or if they start to give you the wrong answer, you start to shake your head. We've all done it. We're cueing them. Stop cueing people. It's very important as recruiters that we sit very, very still in an interview. We take notes. We don't spend a lot of time cueing the people around us. Why our clients absolutely love those online profile tests is because nobody's cueing the candidate. Nobody's quote-unquote priming them, okay? The next thing is, how many times do you find yourself doing this in an interview? You've shown up to the interview, you're distracted, you're thinking about a million other things, and you just want to get this person out the door. The person across the table is reading this. Now they start to give you information, A, you probably didn't want, or B, they're trying to give you fake answers to get your attention back to the table. If you're distracted, if the interview is not going well, release the person, let them go, okay? This is what we're doing to people. Anytime you feel like a candidate's starting to move and jive in their seat across from you, stop moving, okay? The 5 reasons you want to stop reacting: it stops the drama. It stops a candidate from amping up and getting too excited about a job. You can think, okay? And you can find a win-win solution for everybody. And people's feelings don't get hurt, and people will trust you. Okay? Now, let's start to look for the facts. This is when we start to look for people's behavior. We need to find the fragments of the facts. And this is when their body is going to start to tell you different things. We're going to be looking at facial expressions and their posture. The average person can spot 54% of body language, can interpret it correctly. 54%, that's the average person. I estimate recruiters without any training are interpreting body language at 80%. With a little bit of training, we can get them to 90%, okay? Today, I want to teach you to find the corners and get you to start thinking about being more curious and start to qualify candidates better and closing the deals better, okay? Let's talk about posture. Kelly, are you still there? Karen, are you there? I'm looking for a woman in the group to tell me what they think of this posture right here. Most women, this posture sets them off. This is an absolutely male-dominated seat. Women will do it too, but when men do it in a boardroom, 90% of women are out of their minds. It's an arrogant position to take. If your candidates are doing this at any point, you need to be aware that your candidate's going to take control in your client site and you're going to have a problem. If they're doing this, their ego is big. They're telling you a story all about them, not really getting into the facts of it. They're telling you from a perspective that makes them look really good. Okay? So see if you can get them to sit back to the table. Women do the same thing. We don't do it in boardrooms typically because we have skirts on. You will see executive women on Fridays kind of doing this stuff, or in their boardroom or in their offices with the doors closed. Okay? Again, almost the same posture, almost. The difference with this posture is this person is actually trying to take up space. We would probably see this with our clients more than anything. Why do you think it's a big deal when the candidate's trying to take up space on you in an interview? Anybody? Anybody feel like when they get into an interview room with a candidate and there's no room for you in there? This is going to cause a problem for you later with your clients, because if they're comfortable with you like this and they're taking up space in your office, they're going to start running your interview processes. If you're doing this to your candidate, you're overexerting your power. Don't do this. We want you to sit professionally, feet on the floor, okay? This is a power stance, and this is a space stance, okay? Crossing your legs is normal. If they're sitting next to somebody and crossing their legs and pointing out a doorway, if the person's sitting next to them and they're crossed away, they're not engaged in the conversation. If they've got their ankles crossed, it's pretty neutral. Watch the person at the table that looks like they're in a runner stance, and they look like they're gonna run a race. They're trying to leave the conversation. They're trying to get out the door. We see this at a lot of restaurants. Okay, the person isn't engaged in the conversation. You'll see their legs start to shake. They got to get out of there. They're trying to get out of there. This, of course, is somebody that's extremely nervous, and neither one of these people are open to having a conversation. These are postures that we would normally see. It's up to you to control these postures and to level set them, to readjust the person at the table. Some things that you can do to readjust people that I find extremely effective is to move chairs on them, to ask them to, instead of for the gentleman that is taking up too much space, I would actually say to him, could you please move over? I need the chair that you're sitting in. And I would take that chair that he was in and I'd move it outside the room. Okay? The guy leaning back, I typically would drop something in front of him because his instant reaction would be to bend over and pick it up. And then I would slide down the table and sit across from him. Okay? Somebody with their arms crossed in front of them. Typically, what I'm going to do is just going to sit and wait. Waiting is a very, very effective tool on other people. If you wait long enough, people will uncurl from their stance, okay? Let's talk about facial expressions. Let's talk about touching your face. Why is it significant that when somebody starts to touch their face? Anybody? Bev? David? Anybody out there? When a candidate touches their face, especially when they're putting their hand over their mouth or over their nose, they're trying to stop from telling you something. I have an employee that works for us. He actually loops his index finger over the top of his nose and then loops his thumb under his chin. He is physically holding his mouth shut. Your candidates will do this. They might just put their forefinger on their mouth. You need to give them time to get out. You need to give them time to answer. Some questions you can ask is, did that question make you uncomfortable? Remember, people are not so much lying as they're hiding something on you. So you have to chase that down. You have to give them the space to answer. You need to tell them, you know what, I'm a recruiter. I've seen and done everything. If you tell me now, I can cover, we can cover it off and I can answer it and we can move forward. Rubbing the nose is the same thing. Rubbing the nose is your hand is telling your mouth to not say that. All right? When you cross your legs, we talked a little about actually this before, leaning forward and leaning back. We've all made offers to a candidate and watched them lean back from the table, and we've leaned forward on them. You need to pull them into the conversation, and to pull them into the conversation when somebody is leaning back like this is to back up at least 2 feet from them and give them a moment to think. Maybe ask them if they need a glass of water. When somebody is this far back from the table, they're not in discussions with you anymore. They're hiding from you. So it's important for you to create space. If the candidate is leaning too far forward into your space, what do you do? We get a lot of candidates that do that. We do find ourselves kind of pushed up against the wall. This is why it's, having a table in front of you is good. If you don't have a table, is just putting down your portfolio in front of you, holding it out a little bit further, sliding it towards them, leaning in a little bit further, okay? You can also do things like move to the side of them instead of being face-to-face with them, just move to the left or the right of them. This will cause them to lean back. All the person is trying to do when they lean forward is to get their point across. And they don't realize that they're invading your space. So just moving sideways will cause them to lean back. All right? Crossing their legs, crossing their arms. Again, we've talked about this anger. If they look away from you, a lot of candidates will look away from you because they're under stress. And they'll get angry at you because you're pushing on questions you shouldn't be pushing on. Wait. I'm a big component on wait. And I'm also a big component on what are you thinking? Why does that upset you? Did I see you, get upset there? Don't be afraid to ask because they're afraid. They're trying to push you away. They will tell you what's going on if you say to them, what was that? Why are you upset? Okay? This is a very, very, very important one for us as recruiters to recognize and to see at all points. Does everybody see what Obama is doing in that picture? Does anybody see? Does anybody see that he's using his middle finger to wipe his eye? Obama is very, very, what would you say? He does this intentionally. We all do this intentionally. When a candidate pushes their glasses up using their middle finger, they're not messing around. They are giving you the finger. When your client does the same thing, they're giving you the finger. It is a conscious effort to make that move. Don't believe that this is a natural move. When we actually go back and look at footage of Obama, his natural his natural way of scratching his face when he's under stress is to actually use his index finger. The picture below with him using his middle finger is some reporter won't leave him alone and is pushing on a question he doesn't want to answer. He's very deliberate about this. Your candidates and your clients are deliberate about this. This is the one body language sign that you are missing when you're dealing with a hiring manager who's never going to hire from you. Okay? Let's talk about facial expressions, and let's talk about some micro expressions. Micro expressions are not, it takes a long time to see them. A micro expression lasts for less than 0.5 seconds, okay? There's several of them. There's happiness. Let's talk about happiness. When a candidate or a client is very happy, you can tell this because the smile goes right to their face, right to their eyes. There's a wrinkle in their eyes. The wrinkle goes up more than it goes down. Older people, of course, it's going to go down, but you're going to see the eyebrow go up, okay? They may or may not show teeth. It's the eyes you're looking for. Surprise. When you ask a candidate a question and you've caught them off guard, surprise, their eyes widen, okay? But it's only for a brief second. When a candidate goes beyond the second of surprise, they were prepared for that, and they're trying to hold that behavior longer than they need to so that they can show you that they're surprised. It's fake surprise. Be careful of that, okay? Contempt. Contempt is an important facial expression that you need to be aware of with your clients, not your candidates so much. Of course, we're going to see it in our candidates all the time. It's not a big deal. But when you see it with your client, you need to be aware of it. It is the only facial expression that is one-sided, okay? We do business with these people all the time. I don't worry about it half as much with my clients and my candidates as I would worry about it with a significant other or a family member, a child. If I saw contempt on their faces, we'd be having a very different conversation, okay? There is one that we will need to worry about later, and we'll talk about it. Disgust is the wrinkling of the eyebrows, between the eyebrows, and their lip comes up. It's really hard to tell the difference between disgust and like anger and fear. You tend to get you'll mix these up for a long time. Let's just look at anger. Anger, there's the sneering and disgust. It's a sneer. It's equivalent to a dog sneering at you. You're going to see teeth, but you're also going to see teeth in anger too. Some people are going to really show you teeth, and in fear, they're going to show you teeth. The difference between fear and disgust and anger and disgust, with fear, you see the bottom teeth. A lot of times you'll see bottom teeth. With anger or disgust, you'll see the top teeth more than anything else, okay? Just watch for the edge of the nose. The edge of the nose is what you're really watching for. Why do you guys think that this is important for us? Anybody? Does anybody care that their candidates are disgusted with the questions they're asking? When you ask a candidate about a job that they had to quit or a manager that they dealt with, you really want to be careful of seeing disgust on their faces. You know, again, it's equivalent to, wow, why does that person disgust you? What is that? You need to dig into that, because if you have the same personality types, if your manager is close to the manager that they left, you could have some serious issues, okay? They may or may not show up to an interview if they think, they're fearful of the job description you put in front of them. All of these things are going to be important to you. It's about taking your time and asking a lot of questions, okay? Sadness, we see a lot of candidates that are sad just because they can't get the job. They just haven't answered the right questions or been given the right information. Be careful of the candidate who is too sad. Too sad candidates, we all know we can't get a job for, okay? Here is the most dangerous facial expression for all of us. It's the duping smile. And we see it all the time. And a lot of us miss it. A lot of us get out of an interview with a candidate, and the candidate is giving us the duping smile because we've presented the job description to them and we've offered to set them up in an interview. A duping smile never reaches their eyes. A duping smile says, "Of course I didn't take drugs." This is Armstrong telling a reporter that he did not take drugs. This is a duping smile. If you see a duping smile on your candidates or on anybody after you've made presentations for, the offer, presentations for going to the interview, you need to stop in your tracks and you need to address it because you've missed something and you're going to get kicked in the face because you've missed it. You've missed them. They've lied. They're smiling because they pulled one over on you. That's why it's called a duping smile. Okay? Not to be confused with contempt. Okay? I don't care about the contempt. I care about the duping smile. All right? Now, I have another video, and I want you to watch what this kid does with this politician, okay? This is how we should be running our interviews.
But in May of 2009, you voted yes on a bill that would cut $550 million to the Department of Education, and a lot of that was actually CTE, the money that would have been going to CTE. What factors led to this decision?
Well, tell me a little bit more about that vote. What committee did it take place in?
I actually have that right here. This was right here. Well, it says right here that this bill actually passed. So, and then through further research, we actually saw that it did pass again in the House of Representatives, which ended up cutting $550 million.
Well, I don't know the specific vote that you're talking about there. So.
Okay, well, let's move on then. Do you believe that the CTE program will survive off of the $57,000 that it is allocated?
Well, of course. I mean, we're going to keep these programs alive.
And because right now there's $11 million that goes statewide all throughout all the CTE programs, and even then, you're saying that a lot of classrooms aren't able to get those large format printers and things of that nature. Okay, sure thing.
If you guys noticed, that was a very young kid running an interview. He was amazing. He dumbed down his body language. He had a couple of moments there where he had a duping smile, but he kept it under control. He never influenced the person he was interviewing. He had all the facts. And you watch the person across from him literally jive in place, trying to get away from him. That is a more effective way to run an interview. Don't add into it. The candidates, your candidates and clients will hang themselves. You will find out more information. You want to make sure you have your facts and you're not adding to it. I love that video because that guy actually literally ran out of the room on that kid. Okay? Let's talk about listening to understand. We need to listen to what's being said, how it's being said. Does it match the body language that we're seeing, and to verify it all together. Okay? Let's talk about what's being said. A candidate says to you, I was downsized. What does downsizing mean to us? Typically, they were fired. That's what they're telling you. I was fired. I can only do interviews after hours. Don't read between the lines on that one. The candidate's not going to be flexible with you. They're not going to move forward on anything you want them to do. Okay? They would never counter offer me. Really? Really? They'd never counter offer you? They may be saying it, but you need to be, again, you listen to what they're saying and listen to the words, but you're going to be drilling down on every point. Okay? And the other thing is, I love my job. We hear these things all the time. Now, let's put all of these things together with how they're saying it. If I say to you, oh, I absolutely love my job. You know, it's almost that saying of, I douse protest a little too much. I love my job because I'm too scared to leave, is what I'm hearing. When somebody is like, I love my job. I adore my job. That's great. That's when we start to dig into, wow, what makes it a great place? You know, do you have friends there? What are the things that would keep somebody in their job? Okay? I am only going to do interviews after hours. Well, why is this person being so hard-nosed on why they are only going to do interviews after hours? A lot of times we may see them as inflexible, but you know what? They might have a kid who's in soccer. They might have a mom who's sick. They might have a boss who is constantly chasing them around that they never get to leave. You have to listen to how it's being said, and then you need to dig into why it's being said that way. You know, Mr. Candidate, you said you won't do things after hours. You can't do things, you have to do interviews after hours. Can you explain to me why that is? I love the question why. I love the question why. Why? It challenges them in their authority, and if you get to why by the fifth why, they're probably giving you the answer. Okay? I was downsized. I was fired. You know, why were you downsized? What happened? Were you in the first section of downsizing? We get a lot of candidates that say that they're downsized, but as recruiters, we should also understand that there are different times that companies downsize. So if they're going through a financial crunch, they'll lay off the bottom 10% first, then they'll fix their books again, and they'll lay off the next 10%. When they get to the third downsizing, there's problems. And if that candidate made it to the third downsizing, you need to know that, because it might still be a viable candidate for you. Okay? Listen to how they're saying stuff. They would never, ever, ever counteroffer me. Again, it goes back to the douse protest a little too much. That candidate might be looking for a counteroffer. You cannot say never, never, never. Chase them down. Why wouldn't they? Okay? So the question is, does it all match? This candidate is saying, no matter what happens, I wanted to thank you. You are an amazing recruiter. We all, as seasoned recruiters, we all know what's coming, right? The candidate's going to leave us high and dry. Okay? So make sure everything matches. When we're looking with body language. We want to stop our reactions. We want to look for the facts, and we want to listen to the candidate. I want to show you another interview. It puts this all in perspective. Okay? This is an interview that didn't go very well because things weren't matching. So let's have a listen.
Body language going on there.
I'm holding on for dear life because we're honored by both of you. Oh, kill me now.
Uh-oh. What's going on under there? See that? Oh, you can't hide. You can run, but you can't hide, James.
Oh, Mommy.
What's going on in that clip? What's going on over there?
I had
He's a pig, and I don't like it. He's a pig, and I'm done. You're finished with him? So you're not married, so you don't have to get a divorce. Isn't that good?
You're not married
No,
either.
that's right.
You're not married.
No. What do you have? 2 girls that you took a picture with while you were on the road?
Well, no.
Are you killing me right now? What do you mean 2?
Well, we're out of time.
2,000.
What was the question? Back is good. My schmeckle, not so much.
That's very nice of you to joke about.
It's a joke. Where are you going? What are you doing?
Rude. She's done with you. It's so rude for you to joke about it.
I was just joking because she's a comedian.
Here.
Thanks for the question.
I'm sorry. You're blaming it on me? Don't put this on me. This is all yours.
You did the entire setup. Please come back here. Oh, I'm trying to make you feel a little more comfortable.
So it's possible. That she's done with you, Jane. How do you feel about it?
Well, I hope not.
You hope not.
Please come back.
Shannon, you want to come back? She doesn't. She's mad. She's mad.
Good setup, Joyce.
Don't blame me for this.
Well, yeah.
I thought that's what we were talking about.
We're going to talk about our new season.
See, here's the problem with a person in my position. A lot of these reality shows are they're bullshit. I don't know if it's true or not. So I thought that this was a game. Now it turns out that it's really true.
No, this is.
I really thought this was part of the
no, this is actually happening to us.
The so-called reality show shtick. Because I don't.
Why do you think the interviewer is so out of touch with what's going on there? Anybody? Does anybody understand why the interviewer is lost? Both the guests, heavy Botox, and Botox doesn't allow you to have facial expressions. It did not matter how bad their vocabulary was getting, how bad they were ramping. Did you notice without facial expressions, the interviewer was completely lost in this situation? It's amazing to see when you're looking at an interview like this, and these people, so much Botox that when they're truly having a knockdown, drag-out fight on national TV, nobody can tell because their face isn't reacting. It's really important to us. So it's important to us to be watching that. We use it every day anyway, okay? The last thing is don't take it personally. People respond to different stimulus. When we are doing an introduction, we're interviewing candidates, we're negotiating, we're giving notice or starting a new job. Depending on the stimulus that we're putting them under, will depend on how they react. If we're adding our drama into it, we're causing them to overreact, okay? So let's talk about a couple of things that we can do to help candidates and clients get through these high-stress situations, okay? First of all, the introduction. If you look at this introduction, this is Castro and Obama. Neither one of them want to be here. You can see the look on Obama's face is somewhat of disgust. He's in a crouched position. It's really hard to find a picture of him where his arm is not cocked like this. I would tell you that if there was not a camera there and these guys were in a back alley, Obama would have hit him. The other gentleman is happy to be there, but it's not going to be a pleasant situation because Obama's making it uncomfortable. Okay? We do this to our candidates all the time. This is a better way to approach somebody. This is Obama with Harper. When you reach out and you take somebody's hand, especially men, to make them comfortable, they reach for the shoulder. They'll reach for the elbow, not the shoulder. It's always the elbow. That is a more comforting way to approach a candidate, okay? This is good when you're out with networking. This is good when you're out with clients. This is a perfect picture on how you should be introducing yourself. This gentleman, his face is forward. He's smiling. He's not overly smiling. And he comes at you sideways. He's not full on putting his hand out in front of you. His other shoulder is tipped back, so you have a way out if you don't want to shake his hand, okay? He's not trapping you. Remember this when you're meeting your candidates. We all go out to that front lobby. We've got a desk next to us. We've got our little portfolio, and we're face first into the candidate. Well, of course the candidate is now on edge. Let's back up a little bit. We do it to our clients too. Just lean back a little bit. Be a little bit more open, okay? Interviews. I love this. Candidates come to interviews and they fail the interview because they feel like they're in a courtroom. If you actually, you can see this guy here in the center of the thing. He's pointing at the person on the stand and yelling at him. That's how candidates feel when they're in interviews. Why aren't we getting the right information out of our candidates? Because typically the rooms are hard tables, hard chairs. It's dark colors. You need to be thinking about all of these things when you go into a room. We went into a client site the other day. The table was too big. I'm a big girl. The table was too big. I mean, I couldn't get around the table. The gentleman I brought with me could barely get around the table. Why is the table so big in an interviewing room? Like, did you even want me there? You have to think about those things. So when you're interviewing candidates, if the room in your office is uncomfortable for you to sit in, or you feel like there's a place where you can gain power from, don't interview your candidates there. Okay? You're not going to get the right answers. They're not going to feel comfortable with you. All right? This interview table, either one of this, the guy on the left or the right could be the recruiter or the candidate. No, one person's having a conversation and the other person isn't. Okay? When this starts to happen, take a break. Can I get you something to drink? Back off. All right? This is a therapist's room. Therapists, their entire lot in life is to get information out of people. I'm not sure why, as recruiters, we don't have interview rooms that look like this. We need to spend more time in professional, comfortable spaces. Our clients are always worried that they're not getting the right information from our candidates, but this is the best way to do it, is to, go into a therapist's office and be like, how do you set up your office? If I sat you in that nice, comfy chair over there and gave you a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and we had a conversation, you would tell me your entire life story. I'd know if I had a better hire at that point than putting you in a crowded restaurant or putting you in a Starbucks. Okay? Negotiating. A lot of us get into negotiations and we think it's a tug of war because our emotions get in the middle of it. It's not. I went back to the beginning of this. Negotiating is not personal. Okay? At any point you feel like you're being pulled or pushed in any direction, you need to back off. At any point anybody stands up in your negotiation, take a break. When people stand up, they're anxious. When people start to point fingers, when they start to get upset, they're anxious. Their point is not being heard. You need to be sensitive to this. These are all body language cues that you're losing the discussion. And negotiation is discussion. Okay? I am famous for, I will tell you, I am famous for accidentally telling the candidate $10,000 more and the client another rate and having to move people 20 points. I never have a problem moving people out of those points because it's about how to negotiate. All right? When you go into a negotiation, and believe it or not, this is a very hard picture to find. It's about confidence. And everybody in this picture demonstrates confidence. They're calm, cool, and collected. You really want to be confident in what you're doing. Okay? Giving notice. Your candidates are typically going to go into offices and give their manager their notice like this. They're going to be really sad and mopey, and they're going to want to leave. This behavior is going to cause your manager, the hiring manager, to either want to pat the person on the back and keep them, or the candidate's going to want to stay. We really don't want our candidates going into jobs, giving notice, really upset. There's things that we can do. You can give them a project list. You can help them write their resignation letter, different times of the day that you give it. You can meet them afterwards. Please make sure your candidate does not go into quitting their job looking like this guy who just lost the political race, okay? You also don't want your candidates going in and quitting their jobs too high, too happy to leave, okay? Because, again, this is, I'm too happy, I'm out of here, I'm going to insult you on my way out the door. If they smile too much, again, too much on your managers. We want to keep everything at an even keel. I hope what you're seeing through this whole thing is body language can exasperate situations. Our job is to move it back to more neutral positions. Our job is to move it to neutral positions because then we're getting answers that are clear and they're based on facts. This is President Carter leaving after Reagan takes possession of the White House. He's not happy. He's not sad. He's kind of okay to leave. That's what you want your candidates to look like. You want them to look confident and okay to leave. Does anybody ever go out and look at their candidates when they're quitting their jobs? Anybody? No?
Yes.
Yeah? Do they look like this when they're leaving?
No, ma'am.
What do they look like?
Well, it depends on the circumstance. Most of the time, they're a whole lot more upset when they're leaving. Now, when they're given their notice, if it's a good notice, they may look like that.
It's our job to get them to look like that. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's, when you're going through the interviewing process, right, you're working them through a grieving process. So by the time they give their notice, they've done the grieving process, and they look like this. It's okay to bury the job. If you leave it to if the candidate is too sad or the candidate's too happy, and they're at a different stage in the grieving process, and you're going to have problems. When your candidates are too sad or too happy, that's when the deals go bad. When a candidate's really happy, they're so excited, the new manager, their brand new hiring manager is like, oh my God, this person's coming on too strong, right? And then the other guy who's too sad is the manager's like, oh, I'll protect you, don't leave us, we're a family. Like, really? So
True.
The two spectrums of that is what gets us into trouble, right?
That's true. That's true.
And that's why we want to look at them visually. We want to see them, and we go and meet our candidates on the day that they leave. When they give their notice, we actually take them out for drinks because we want them to be okay. And I don't want them crying when they give their notice. because
Right.
counter offers come out of nowhere at that point.
Right.
Yep. The next thing is starting a new job. I always love this one. It's equivalent to a kid starting a new school, right? It's absolutely nerve-wracking. And your candidates are going to do everything. Again, it's the grieving process that we're going through with them. So it's not like we can hold their hands and get them to start their job. But from a, it may not feel like a body language thing, but it is. It's more of a psychological thing. We send an edible arrangement on their first day of work. Why do you think we do that?
I don't know.
What is the best way to attract people to your desk? Food. Food. What's the best way to get somebody to smile? Give them sweets. Again, we want to attract people to the person's desk, so an edible arrangement will do that. They immediately have food to share, and then the candidate, of course, is eating it, and we're getting them to smile while they're there. It's body language. If they, you want your kid, you want your new candidate to have friends at the new job. So you send them food so they can share with new people. People immediately feel good when they're eating something. They feel even better when they're eating sugar. Okay? So we don't send flowers. It's weird, but it's like these are the things that we're doing to prime the situation. Okay? The only way to get really good at reading body language is really to always be asking why. I can't tell you the amount of books I read on body language. To this day, I just get to the point where I am constantly saying to somebody, why did you sneer at me? Why are you angry? All I'm doing is really reflecting back what I think I saw. If you really want to get good at it, some of the other ways you can get good at it is, when somebody does a facial expression, you go in the bathroom and you try the facial expression on and go through the feelings that they're going through. That is how the leading experts did it. They sat, and that's how they mapped it all out. They spent hours going, what does anger look like? Okay, well, let's be angry, and taking photos and mapping it out on the faces. And then what does it feel like? Because what we're doing in our head, what we're doing on our faces, creates chemical changes in our bodies. Okay? So it's really easy for you to learn. It's really easy to ask somebody, because when you ask them, they will not tell you. They are actually fascinated that you can see them. Okay? The people that you really have to watch out for, people with mustaches and beards, glasses. Those are things to hide from you. My husband has a mustache. I thank God every day he shaves. He nicks it the wrong way, because then I can see more of his facial expressions. I never thought he smiled. It was the weirdest thing. And as he's gotten older, he's gotten a thinner mustache, and I realized he smiles a lot more. But the other thing that you want to be careful of is to read micro expressions. You physically need to be like within 3 inches of somebody's face when they're doing it to start to see it. So you have to kind of practice on your spouse or your kids. Okay? Any questions? Any questions? Is this what you thought?
I think it was great. I don't have any. This is Kelly. I don't have any questions.
Thanks. Is this what you expected from a body language class? I tried to jam in a lot of stuff, because it's putting up pictures and saying this is fact is really hard to do, right? To say, if you rub your nose, you're lying. Well, it's not really true. You have to come at it in a different area.
Rebecca.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Evelyn Diane. I was very, very enthralled into your conversation, but there was one little thing that that I didn't hear, was interviewing via cultural diversity people. In interviews, I'm a fellow Canadian who lives in the United States, actually.
Yes. Oh, congratulations. Yes.
Thank you. I live in Florida. So I'm just looking at the interview. I'm a career coach, and I'm helping a lot of people go through interviews with recruiters, like all of you.
Yes.
And it's interesting to see the different cultures, how do they react vis-a-vis the interviews, and how recruiters probably misinterpret the candidates. For instance, you deal with different cultures. I'm just giving an example of the Asian cultures, excuse me, who do not really look at you in the face when they interview because they give you the utmost, respect, etc. So there are different misunderstandings from the recruiter's point of view while they're interviewing different cultures as well. So there must be some training to be done. I train a lot of cultural diversity.
Okay.
This is one of my babies actually here.
And
it's very interesting to see that there is misunderstanding. They do not understand each other.
it is what you are referring to is what is called, and you can look this up, is called a power distance indicator. Okay?
Okay.
A power distance indicator is, for example, the best well-known story about this is planes out of China would crash more readily coming into Newark than anywhere else in the world. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And they finally, I don't know who they contacted, but there's a leading expert in this, and what he determined was in China, in China they have a very high the number is very high, so it is up to the person you are speaking to understand you. Okay?
You mean the candidate towards the recruiter, right?
So as a candidate, when if I'm from China, when I speak to the recruiter, it is not my responsibility as a Chinese candidate to have the recruiter understand me. It is, from my culture, it is deemed that the recruiter is to take the time and understand what I have said. For example, coming into Newark, and they would say to the plane, you need to circle again. And the airline pilot would say, we are getting low on fuel. According to the Chinese, it was up to the tower to determine that they were out of gas. When an American talks to each other, we have a very small power distance indicator, hence why anybody feels the right to go up to Obama and tell him what he's doing wrong. Okay? Where these power distance indicators become a real problem is between countries like Canada and the United States. We are close enough in number, but far enough away that we irritate each other.
Absolutely. I know. I live here.
Yes. So Canadians truly believe their number says follow the rules. The Americans' number is I break the rules. And basically, in Canada, our numbers are you are able to talk to a certain level, but you must wait your turn. In the United States, their number is so small. It's called a power distance indicator. And what you have to do is you have to educate the candidate on how to be closer to the number. They basically, with the airline pilots, they grounded the airline until they could retrain everybody how to step up to the plate. And that's what you have to do. You cannot change it the other way around. So whoever you're working with, depending on what culture it is, look up their power distance indicator, and it will tell you where the problem is, and it'll be easier for you to fix.
I have some misunderstanding towards what you just said because we're talking about candidates looking for jobs, from different cultures,
yes.
Or they're in here. I coach a lot of expat people from France, from Italy. I I do coaching in 4 languages, and I see the shocking moments of these people coming in because they haven't even done their own homework, which, yeah, you were right about that. Candidates need to know the culture of the country they're coming in. However, the recruiters, I'm talking whether through agencies or even a corporate recruiter that I know because I coach them a lot to also help or hire candidates from different countries. They get mixed up. It's a dual thing. It's a dance. I'm saying it's a dance.
What has to then explain to the recruiters also. What you will find with recruiters is a recruiter's job is to find the potential in the person.
Yes.
And a lot of times they have no clout to change the hiring manager's position. They can see the potential, but they can't make the decision. They can't make that decision for the hiring manager. So it is. If you go back, I do a lot of business where I talk to American companies trying to do business in Canada and Canadian companies trying to do business in the States. The first place I educate them is on the power distance indicator. And
Absolutely.
As soon as everybody around the table understands that, then they understand that they have to develop their own language to work together. And it is a more effective way to do it, and it's based in science, so you will get more uptake and more people coming at more people wanting to learn from you. Trust me, it's out there. There's lots of articles. I can look up articles for you. I think it's a cool thing. A lot of people don't understand it. And if I've talked to companies about this, and as soon as they get it, they change. But by just telling them they have to change and not backing it up with science, you'll never get through to them.
Yeah, it's not really telling them. It's maybe coaching them to open their eyes.
It's educating
even before
them.
They can.
Educating on don't coach, educate.
Educate or counsel, whatever word you want to use, but at least they need to be aware.
Yeah.
That's the big word.
Yeah, coaching is more of a cognitive thing that you do. Educating is, look at what you're doing, and here's what's happening, and it's scientifically based. It's wonderful. You'll love that tool. You will love it.
I will. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Rebecca.
No problem. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to the Recruiters Connection for their support. If you're not on their site, please go check them out and sign up for being in their national directory. And their job board is to die for. And if you've got candidates that are passive candidates, you should also be directing them there. Thank you again, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.